So the cover-up will go probably until the last week, depending. The Zetas have said that what we can best hope for, really, is people in an act of conscience at the last minute blurting something out on TV, getting the message out, where it, in such a way that it can't be stopped. The Internet should be a great help in this. Then they get hauled off to the wacky ward. Oh, poor soul, they went insane. They're imagining things, but nevertheless it gets around. We should expect that as we get, and that what will happen is people will go to Washington, D.C., for instance, and the place will be vacant. Nobody will be answering the phones. Supposedly the carry-on government has moved to another location, maybe Denver or something, and they're not responding to the public. They're taking all your taxpayer money and trying to run the government and protect themselves and carry their life on, but they don't care about you. That's what's likely to happen.
What's going on in the Pacific Northwest? We're hearing reports by seismologists lately that it appears the tectonic plates along the West Coast are beginning to stretch considerably. Is there something we should anticipate as happening along the Pacific Northwest?
Sure. Actually, the steps that the Zetas have said that there's stress all the way from the Aleutian Islands to the tip of Mexico, in which the whole North American plate is put into kind of a bowl. And the reason for this is that the plate up on top is a flat top. If you take a look at the plate if you were to go up in space and look down, you would see that the fault line goes from Japan over to Iceland. It's almost a straight line. Then it curves round and circles the United States, and then kind of bebops over to Japan from Alaska, into kind of a weird-looking little tongue thing. Now, what this does is prevent the North American plate from rolling, because it can't get that flat top to roll. It's a kind of a diagonal stress pull on the North American plate. Take Mexico and pull it to the west. Take New England and pull it to the right, and you're stretching it, which will eventually cause the New Madrid fault to rupture and rupture badly. They're not saying when. When this happens, the bridges up and down the Mississippi will break. The land west of the Mississippi will drop somewhat, causing flooding, and it'll go all the way from Mexico up into the New England states. I mean, the repercussions of this rip will be big, right? Now, obviously, there's tension because of the bowing along the West Coast. When we had that Utah mine disaster a couple of years ago, that was a result of the bow. If you take the center of the bow and go inland, there's that mine disaster, so consequently there is adjustment and giving and tension, a lot of expression. The California fields are going to have a big one any day. Pets will go missing and insects will suddenly swarm and leave the area, or whatever, caterpillar stampedes.
I've heard that they're saying there was a report here a couple of weeks ago that California actually will slip further to the south towards Mexico because of all the activity that's going on there. How true is that?
Yeah, well, the Zetas have said that the slip slide, San Andreas, etc., running up along the West Coast, that will make its major adjustment after the New Madrid makes its big adjustment. But in the meantime, we might have what they call minor adjustments on the West Coast. They have not said that there will be a readjustment of the states in that manner. They've said that the bowing is taking place, which kind of puts the crunch. If you go from the Aleutians to the tip of Mexico, that area in there is kind of being compressed and will probably make some adjustments. There was some talk of a dam in Oregon, which had everybody, emergency management teams, very distressed. And they said that there was the ground, the rock around the sides of the dam was moving. And they could see that it was going to give, and there wasn't much they could do about it. So they said, well, where is this coming from? And they said, if you have what is considered solid, it's never solid rock. It's in layers, and the layers pull apart, so that it can weaken and drop, and you can have shifting sideways and the like. There's cracks, so But the Zetas have not said there's going to be any kind of a readjustment of the location north or south of these states. They said that the slip slide of the San Andreas, from what we normally understand, and subducting, under the volcanoes and the like, would be the result of a kind of a sympathetic reaction on the West Coast to the major adjustment in the New Madrid. In the meantime, we just have little twitching. The West Coast is twitching, relative to a big upchuck, I guess you might
actually,
say.
it's what we can refer to as like a swarm of minor earthquakes, correct?
Right, that type of thing, and also movement because of the strain of that bow, to where something will go, and move a little bit. And it might not even happen in being accompanied by an earthquake. It may happen just, just happen. And people say there wasn't even an earthquake. How did this happen? Why did the dam suddenly not detach from its rock or something? There may not even be an earthquake, and it just happen.
Now,
don't be down water from a dam.
Well, yeah,
line.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the when we talk about the Planet X theory, one of the major arguments that opponents of this theory comment on in chat forums and such is that this rogue Planet X was supposed to be first visible in the spring of 2003 as it was approaching the sun. Then there would be a lapse time while the planet crossed in front of the sun where visibility would be minimal or non-existent. However, in recent months, there have been some eyewitness accounts, once again, of a second sun appearance, apparently with this planet moving away from the sun's gravitational pull and across that ecliptic plane nearer to the Earth that we referred to. The argument and point that some are making is that this planet isn't visible to the naked eye and is not observable using high-intensity telescopes, with some coming to the conclusion that it never will be seen in the sky simply because it doesn't exist, or it's a fabricated story spoken of by ancient civilizations that was handed down from generation to generation. Now, what do you say to those individuals who, for reasons of their own, just can't accept your reasoning for the events now taking place on this planet?
Well, the darn thing was visible in 2001, 2, and 3, recorded on infrared, on 3 different continents, recorded on CCD images, one whole winter, and seen in three different observatories on 2 different continents, Vancouver, Flagstaff, and in France in 2001, seen, through observatory. People have taken pictures of it.
The reason I'm saying that, Nancy, is because I get so many emails on my channel over at YouTube concerning the video I've got there that, well, come on, you're saying that this was visible in 2003. Well, now in 2008, and I still don't see anything. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, because it is mostly lost in the glare, especially if you look at the sun. It's lost in the glare. And a sunrise and sunset, if the planet and your location of the planet is such that the sunlight coming from the sun bounces off to the dust cloud, which is a little to the right as you look at it in the northern hemisphere, and and the angle is just right, then you say, wait a minute, I'm seeing 2 suns rising or setting, and usually it'll come up before the normal sun and set before the normal sun, such as the angle of the slant of the ecliptic as you look out into space. But it is sort of lost in the glare of the sun, and then there's the fog bank approach where sunlight hitting this dust cloud bounces back toward the sun or off into space. So it looks like a dim fuzzball from our vantage point, not like a really bright thing, unless the angle is just right. And it has happened, and people do have sightings. They do take pictures, but it comes and goes. But in the last week, it'll be very visible, and legend has it coming from the direction of the sun. That Kolbrin, which is the Egyptian account of what happened during the Jewish Exodus time and the time of the flood, said it came from the sun. And that's because it does get the Earth in this eddy flow grip, and it comes at us from the direction of the sun. Therefore, just because they can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there, because it is lost in the glare, as I said, and it is showing up. It's showing up on the SOHO satellite images.